At a busy fuel depot, a worker climbs onto a tanker marked Peligro Inflammable. One wrong step, and gravity takes over. It's a routine day at the fuel loading station. One worker stands beside the truck, while another climbs up to check the hatch. The metal surface glistens with residue, slick, uneven, and unforgiving. There's no guardrail, no harness, just balance and habit keeping him steady. As he shifts his weight to open the cap, his boot skids across the slick metal. The curved top offers almost no flat footing, and with no guardrail, the edge of the tanker is an open drop. In a split second, the routine climb turns into an uncontrolled slide toward that unprotected edge, with the loading bay sitting directly below. Never, ever climb onto a tanker without proper fall protection. Smooth, curved metal surfaces can turn treacherous with just a trace of oil or rain, and a single misstep can leave you exposed at an unprotected edge with a severe fall hazard below. In a loud testing bay, filled with turbines and steel, one worker steps a little too close to a spinning fan, and the machine reacts in an instant. During a blower test, he leans in past the guardrail for a quick inspection, unaware of how fast the blades are moving. In a split second, the airflow from the spinning blades catches loose clothing and gear, snapping them toward the opening in the guardrail. The fan doesn't slow. It keeps rotating with mechanical precision, creating a strong pull that draws anything unsecured toward its danger zone. Never, ever move into the danger zone of a rotating machine while it's in motion. Even a slow-turning fan can generate enough force to pull tools, clothing, or debris in before anyone has time to react. In a quiet morning kitchen, a single flame flickers on a stovetop. Seconds later, it surges out of control. A cook spots a small flame in a pot of oil. Instead of cutting the heat, he panics, grabbing a container of water to throw over it. The instant the water hits, the hot oil erupts upward in a sudden blast. A white flash fills the stovetop area, flames jumping across nearby surfaces in seconds. Never, ever throw water on a grease fire. Water flashes into steam, blasts hot oil outward, and turns a small flame into a fast-spreading kitchen fire. On a quiet rail platform, a worker climbs onto a train car, unaware that a life-threatening voltage is waiting just above him. It's a normal morning at a rail yard. Tanker cars line the track, ready for inspection and loading. Overhead, high-voltage power lines stretch across the platform, part of the electrical system that powers locomotives. A worker in an orange uniform begins climbing one of the tankers, possibly to check a hatch or secure a valve. To him, it's a short, routine task, one he's done countless times before. As he reaches the top, the space between the rail car and the overhead line shrinks to a critical gap. In an instant, electricity travels across the air, invisible but incredibly powerful. A blinding flash bursts around the tanker as current races along the metal surface before the system shuts down. The danger comes not from direct touch, but from proximity. High voltage bridging the air between the line and the rail car. Never, ever climb on or near rail cars beneath overhead power lines. Electricity doesn't need contact to travel. It can arc through air, metal, and moisture. Always follow lockout and isolation procedures, and only approach with trained supervision and clearance. In a busy fabrication workshop, a spark flies, not toward the metal, but straight onto a worker's headgear. Sparks flash as two welders work side by side, steel frames glowing under the torch. One worker bends forward, focused on his seam. Behind him, his co-worker's torch throws a burst of sparks across the bench. The glowing fragments scatter. One lands on his hard hat, small enough to ignore, bright enough to matter. Within seconds, smoke curls from the top of the helmet. He doesn't notice at first, his attention locked on the weld, but the others do. By the time they pull him back, the outer shell of the hard hat is already softening and blistering from the heat. Never, ever weld near another person without using full-flame shields or spark guards. Sparks may seem harmless, but a single ember can start gear, smoldering, or damage protective equipment long before anyone notices the heat. A worker in a bucket lift reaches for the line. Then, in a flash, the sky ignites. It's a bright day at a high-voltage substation. Towers, insulators, and conductors stretch in every direction, carrying immense electrical energy. A bucket truck positions its lift beneath the lines. Inside the bucket, a lineman in full protective gear prepares to work. From the ground, it looks calm, precise, almost routine. But this is no ordinary environment. These lines hold thousands of volts, energy that waits for the smallest mistake to unleash chaos. As the bucket closes in on the live conductor, the clearance gap shrinks into a critical zone. In an instant, the air between the line and the boom becomes a conductive path, and a high-energy arc flash erupts. A blinding burst of light and pressure blasts outward from the contact point, driving hot gases and smoke above the yard. Electricity doesn't forgive distance errors. High voltage can arc through the air, and one wrong approach can unleash explosive force. Every live line job must follow strict clearance rules with insulated equipment, tested PPE, and fail-safe procedures. Workers must never assume gear alone will protect them. The only true shield is maintaining safe distance and control, because in high-voltage work, even the air can turn against you. In a cramped restaurant kitchen, two cooks carry a pot of hot oil, and one misstep turns routine work into a dangerous spill. It's late afternoon inside a busy restaurant kitchen. Along the narrow aisle, two workers lift a large metal bowl filled with hot oil, moving it from the stove to the prep station. They lift carefully, each holding one side, their focus split between balance and speed. It's a movement they've done countless times before, but one that allows no margin for error. As they turn down the narrow passage, one worker's footing slips and the bowl tilts. Hot oil sheets across the floor in an instant, spreading out from the spill point and racing along the narrow aisle. The slick quickly coats the walkway from wall to wall, turning the route between the stove and prep station into a continuous slip zone. Pans and utensils jolt and scatter as the spill surges through the middle of the kitchen lane. Never, ever carry open containers of hot oil across wet or cluttered floors. One slip can send hot liquid across the work area, turning the entire path into a slip zone. Always transfer heated oil only after it cools, or use containers designed for sealed, heat-safe transport. Inside an auto workshop, a mechanic walks casually past a lift until a moment of distraction meets solid steel. It's a calm afternoon in a busy service bay. The floor is clear, the sound of tools echoing off concrete and chrome. A mechanic walks through, one hand holding a small tool, the other resting at his side. He's focused, but not on what's ahead. The yellow lift arm left at head height from the last job sits at rest just in his path. He takes one more step, and the walkway ends at solid steel. The heavy lift arm, left parked at head height, sits rigid across his path like a bar at helmet level. A sudden jolt against the arm sends a sharp crack through the bay as steel meets solid surface, the echo hanging in the air. A reminder that even motionless equipment can turn a clear route into an impact hazard. Never ever walk through a service area without scanning for obstacles at eye level. Lift arms, chains, and jacks left mid-position can turn into instant impact hazards. In workshops, it's not just the machines that move, the risks do too. In a quiet workshop, one pull of the trigger, and the plank she's drilling into suddenly strikes back. A DIY project unfolds on a kitchen counter. A woman in a blue sweater steadies one narrow piece of wood with one hand and grips a cordless drill with the other. The plank's free end juts out slightly over the counter, unsecured, unnoticed. She positions the screw and presses the drill trigger. The familiar hum fills the kitchen as the bit bites into the wood. But what she doesn't realize is that the plank beneath her hand isn't supported. It's resting loosely, balancing on vibration. Then, with a sudden kick of torque, the plank jolts. The screw drives deeper, the vibration travels through the board, and the free end swings up like a lever into the open space in front of the counter. The loose end snaps through a tight arc, jolting the drill sideways and yanking the bit out of the wood. In a heartbeat, the board and tool shift from steady to unstable, turning the counter's edge into a swinging hazard zone. Never, ever drill into unsecured material. Even a small piece of wood can turn into a swinging hazard once vibration and torque take hold. Clamp it down, brace it properly, and keep your body out of its swing path, because tools don't just build, they react. Inside a busy metal workshop, a crane lifts a massive tank frame, but in seconds, balance gives way, and gravity takes over. Overhead on a factory floor, a crane system carries a large cylindrical structure, metal bars forming a cage-like frame, being maneuvered toward a deep, open pit for installation. The structure is suspended mid-air, slowly descending, everything appearing controlled. Then, without warning, the entire load slips, the rigging fails, and the massive frame drops straight down into the pit with a deafening metallic crash. The impact slams the structure against the pit wall, sending vibrations and shock through the surrounding steel and pit edge. Never stand beneath or near a suspended load. When lifting or lowering heavy structures, ensure proper rigging, balance, and clear exclusion zones. A few seconds of caution can mean the difference between control and catastrophe. No personnel should be within range of a lift's potential fall path. Always assume a lift can fail and position workers accordingly. Don't forget to share what you learned today in the comments. Your insight could save a life. Take care.